let's talk Ohio State and Indiana. The Buckeyes in the shoe. They win it 38-15. No cigarette smoking in the shoe on Saturday. Curtis Rourke goes 8 for 18 for 68 yards. Meanwhile, Will Howard, 22 of 26 for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, just 1 pick. And I think, this is a recruiting show, so let's talk a little transfer portal. Caleb Downs, that punt return that he broke probably opened this one up, and the Buckeyes never looked back. 316 yards of offense to just 151 for Indiana. We're big Hoosier fans on this show this season, so this was a big matchup for the recruit reaction, Steve. I mean, hey, what did you think of that Big Ten showdown?
Ohio State, Brian Day said it after the game. We knew it was on the line, had to get it done. A trip to the Big Ten title game, a rematch with Oregon. If they don't beat the Hoosiers, they're not coming to the great city of Indianapolis, where I'm coming to you live right now, the Indianapolis suburbs here. But look, Indiana scored on the first possession. Ohio State got dialed in and took care of business in dominant fashion. Curt Cignetti said after the game, all good things have to come to an end. Ohio State deserved it to win. Indiana wasn't able to respond to Ohio State in the second half, and the Buckeyes now have Michigan coming to the shoe next weekend to end the regular season, and then conference title games, and then we get on with the college football playoff. But it was a huge recruiting weekend at Ohio State. Let's just dive right into it, Josh. 5-star offensive tackle David Sanders Jr. pops up inside the shoe. Longtime Tennessee commit. Since committing to the Vols in August, he's been Mr. Vol. He has only visited Tennessee, only talked to Tennessee, but the early signing period is less than 2 weeks away. It starts on December 4th. And we're dotting I's, we're crossing T's, we're having final conversations and talking to several people with knowledge of the recruitment. This visit started to get legs on Wednesday. He is on campus at Ohio State this weekend. He could stay into Monday. So there's going to be a lot of dialogue and a lot of opportunity for Ohio State to make a move on Tennessee. And talking to a source early this morning, they thought that this was even starting to trend Ohio State's way. We'll see how the conversation goes with the Sanders family, Ohio State, but he's having a great time. He's around the Ohio State recruits, got around the coaches. You saw him there with offensive line coach Justin Fry, who he trusts. Look, there were times where I thought Ohio State led for David Sanders. It was obvious that they finished in the top 2 for him to be back on campus in Columbus. And this is going to be a developing visit, and so we'll be talking about it all weekend into Monday.
Yeah, your report today, it caught me off guard. I mean, I think this was maybe the biggest surprise visit of the season so far. Maybe just, generally speaking, hadn't heard much about David Sanders, let alone David Sanders in Ohio State. But David Sanders, as soon as the news broke, I went over to VolQuest, and Austin Price put on the message board a little note saying, this is serious. I mean, this isn't like one of these visits where he let the staff know and everybody's okay with it and they all are on board. I mean, I think this was maybe even a shocker to the Ohio State staff as well.
Well, we have to give our colleague Pete Nakos
credit
too. He was the first to report on our network that David Sanders was at Ohio State. Again, this started getting movement on Wednesday from what I'm told. So look, as he goes to make a final decision on where he's going to sign his letter of intent, getting back to Ohio State is now part of the process, and Tennessee definitely has major competition here, talking to sources on my end. So I'm excited to see how this visit continues and what this means for David Sanders as these two programs battle down the stretch.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about this one all week, obviously. The number 1 offensive tackle in America taking a visit to Ohio State 9 days before signing day. And Steve, you just said he could be there till Monday, so we're talking about 7 or 8 days before pen hits paper. David Sanders is going to be in Columbus. Steve, he's not the only flip target on campus this weekend in Columbus. Talk about it.
Yeah, Aiden West is defensive back committed to Michigan State that Ohio State was working to get to campus. Look, he's excited to get there and learn more about how Ohio State operates. But I think that they're certainly rising up his list. He's going to be back at Michigan State next weekend. And this is Jordan Woods' second visit to Ohio State. He took his first visit prior to being offered. So Ohio State's been keeping the Georgia product warm for a while. He's now back on a second visit. If Ohio State's pushing, I think he'll end up playing his college football in the state of Ohio just as a Buckeye instead of a Bearcat.
All right. Now, two number one players at their position for the 26 class, Blaine Bradford, Tyler Atkinson, both on campus. Steve, have you caught up with either of them?
Yeah, quite a few elite juniors on campus, Josh. I talked to Tyler Atkinson. He said the environment is nuts to say the least. The fans are loyal, rain, sleet, or snow. He's really impressed at how the linebackers played and how they get after it. And he said the Buckeyes are showing him a lot of love. Chad Simmons reported that Atkinson's going to be staying the night at Ohio State. I think we got Ohio State in the top two. I mean, Georgia and Ohio State are the programs I'm looking at the hardest for Tyler Atkinson. Blaine Bradford's the number one safety in the country. I talked to his dad after the game. Blaine was meeting with the Ohio State coaches at the time. He talked about the atmosphere being electric and just that, look, his son loves the coaches, the fans, and the city of Columbus. LSU's trending on the On3 RPM. His brother's committed to LSU in the 2024 class, but Notre Dame, Ohio State, those are a couple programs that he's given a keen look to, Josh. Those weren't the only two elite blue chip high-ranked juniors that were on campus. Devin Carter, the number 38 overall prospect per the On3 industry, a receiver from Douglas County, Georgia. He was there. He said the coaching staff and the continuous production from the receiver room at Ohio State continues to excite him. He could see himself developing somewhere like Ohio State. Offensive lineman Micah Smith from Vero Beach High in Florida. He's in the top 100, number 86 player overall, Josh. He's been to Ohio State 5 or 6 times. I didn't realize he'd been there that much, but he said the shoe was rocking today. He talked about the sacks Ohio State was piling up, getting the crowd in a dither. But he said each visit he keeps getting better. He likes the consistency of Coach Fry and the coaching staff with the offensive line. He says every experience is just a little different. Ohio State recently offered top 100 edge rusher Samodi Kataanga from J. Sarah Catholic in California. He's made the rounds to some of the biggest games this year. He said the atmosphere is one of the best he's experienced this year. The fans, the team, everything in Columbus made an impression on him. Talking to Coach Larry Johnson and how he envisions him on the defensive line excites him. And he talked about the defense flying around. And I can definitely picture myself playing in the shoe. He said, look, this Indiana defense or Indiana offense was one of the most efficient in the country. Curtis Rourke, a contender for Big Ten Player of the Year. I think he threw for like 66 yards. So Ohio State's defense got after him. Tight end Jude Kisconi from Georgia has an offer from Ohio State. And he echoed a lot of what the others said about the environment and the experience, but he likes the way Ohio State uses their tight ends and H-backs and the versatility it allows them to play with and how they make that offense potent and dangerous. They offered 4-star safety Joey O'Brien. They'll battle Penn State, Notre Dame, among others, but it was an exciting day at Ohio State. They got a win that was pivotal for the Big Ten race, the college football playoff. If you win the Big Ten, you have a chance to be the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff. So Ohio State has a lot to play for, and they're also in the mix for the nation's number 1 ranked recruiting class. They sit at number 3. If they flip David Sanders, that would obviously be massive in their quest. And I think that they have a shot to flip David Sanders, talking to several sources about it today.
All right. Well, that is definitely a recruitment that we're going to be talking about, not just tonight, probably on Sunday on the Inside Scoop. Then we'll be back on Monday with more intel from Steve on the Wiltfong Whip Around. So David Sanders, Ohio State fans, how are you feeling about this one? Are you surprised to see? Of course you're surprised. Don't even lie. We know you're surprised, but let me know. Do you think David Sanders is going to flip to Ohio State? Let me know. Comment section below.